all these future events. He simply gives a list of kings as it has been revealed to him. So it's still not time travel. And it's still not, because if you think about it, for each one of these kings, there were 1,000, I mean, you could write volumes on each king. For example, in Denmark, or any country in Europe, any country in the world, if you take some prominent king, say Henry VIII, that sociopath from England, Henry VIII, you know, there's so many volumes written about him, and yet we just get a name. So it's not the same as time travel. It's not that, and Shuka never says that I'm going to the future, I'm seeing the future. Yes?
Another question, it's about Brahma-Buddha's states. Both here, as far as I can see, and also in the 14th chapter, Brahmano Hipratistaham. Krishna, as far as I can see, talks about state of consciousness. I mean, he talks about Mam Shayo Vyapacharina, you're fully engaged in devotional service. Then you reach to the
Mam Shayo Vyapacharina Bhakti Yogi Sadhanansa.
Yeah, and then you're...
Brahmano Hipratistaham.
Yeah, and then, I mean, the Brahman state's introduced in this 1426 Mam Shayo Vyapacharina, and then Krishna says, and I'm the basis of that Brahman. So, to me it seems Krishna is talking about you reach a state of consciousness, but probably he ties it together with the Brahman effulgence and how.
Well, the word Brahman is used in various ways in Gita because it means the absolute. Yeah. And so, or the spirit. And so the word has different meanings. For example, the Brahman also means the Vedas, such as in the first verse of the Bhagavatam, Tene Brahma Hrida, the extended Vedic knowledge in the heart of Brahma. So Brahman has various meanings, but when Krishna says, Brahmano hi pratishtaham, Amritas, let's get that verse here. Brahmano hi pratishtaham, Amritasya biyasya cha, shashvatasya cha, dharmasya sukhasya kante. Krishna sort of tangentially refers sometimes, the soul is Brahman. But Krishna generally calls the soul Atma or Purusha. And Brahman is not a common way of referring to the individual soul. And that's why Krishna says Brahma Bhuta, one who has become Brahman. So in terms of the verse, Brahmano hi pratishtaham, Krishna, to say that that relationship of being the pratishta of something, pratishta means the foundation. It means the foundation of something. And so Krishna describes in various ways his relation to souls. He says that, of course he says, I'm the source of everything, or I'm the heart of every soul. Or he especially says the soul is part of me. But to say the foundation, the basis of, of course it could refer to the individual being, but it's in that particular context, it seems much more like it refers to what Prabhupada said it does.
Yeah. I'm just had a hard time completely tying together this that's why.
Well, if you look, for example, Krishna says Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavir. If you look at all the verses in the Gita, it's actually in that book I just did, where I show all the ways Krishna uses the word Brahman. And he doesn't really use Brahman so much to refer to the individual soul. He uses a more general philosophical term about spiritual nature. Yes?
Thank you for explaining so nicely about this oneness and then the hierarchy. How to get a balance in our movement also amongst our devotees. We see the temple devotees or outside devotees, sometimes how to not neglect them but involve them, what positions. How we have difficulties with it throughout our history, right? So how to find that balance, to see the oneness and not, again, respecting the hierarchy, senior devotees, junior devotees, qualified devotees, seniors who are not qualified, juniors who are not qualified. How to get that balance?
There has to be mutual generosity. In the sense that if someone, let's say, as you put, is a temple devotee, there should be a genuine appreciation and appreciation of others, and those who, let's say, I mean, obviously, the overwhelming majority of members of ISKCON don't live in temples, so those people should also respect the people who are maintaining the sense. It basically has to be mutual respect. It's like any relationship. There has to be mutual respect, genuine mutual respect, mutual appreciation. No one wants to feel like they're second class. It's not a great sensation. And so I've had, I get all kinds of stories all the time from disciples of mine, just people I know, who went to a temple and were treated very much as they were somehow, as if they were unworthy or inferior. Again, I'm not talking about Denmark, but it's something that goes on. So if someone still has a desire to be better, I mean, if you think about it, in the material world, that's all anyone ever does. I mean, what else do people do in the material world except try to be better than other people? And so, if we're not pure, if we're not really serious about Krishna consciousness, then we will grasp at anything, just any justification to think we're better than other people. So the people in the temple should feel they're serving the outside community, and the outside community should feel they're serving the temple. If everyone has a mood of service. But again, someone is qualified to be a leader precisely when the person is free of the desire to be better than other people. Someone who is attached there. In other words, if I really think I'm a sannyasi, that's obviously I'm a fool. I mean, I have the duty of a sannyasi. I've accepted sannyas dharma, but ultimately I'm not this body. And Lord Chaitanya himself said that I'm not a, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, sannyasi, vanaprastha, and so on. So, if as a guru I think that somehow my disciples belong to me, or somehow just because I'm a guru I can tell them what to do in areas where I have no expertise, like financial planning or perhaps marriage counseling, or whether they should go to college or not. I mean, to think that because I'm a guru, therefore I know everything about things I obviously don't know, then it's just a question of false pride. If I think that because I'm a sannyasi, I'm better than people in other ashrams, I'm just a fool. So the minute someone really believes I'm really a sannyasi, that means they really don't understand. I mean, I took sannyas in 1972. Oh my God. I actually took sannyas several years before my brain was fully formed. Because, young men, as all women know, young men, their brains aren't fully formed. Anyway, so as soon as I think because if let's say I'm a guru, and say I'm surrounded all the time by people who are, offering me respect, and it's just basic Freudian psychology. My superego becomes all the people praising me. And so I believe it. I really believe that I'm this great person. I really believe I'm a guru. Because if 24/7, if all the time I'm always in this role, I'm a guru, I'm a sannyasi, at a certain point, if I'm not really mature, I cross a line, I start to believe it. I start to believe that I'm really better than other people. And at that point, obviously, I'm somewhat of a loose cannon, as they say. And that can happen, to be perfectly honest. It's possible for someone who's doing the service of a guru or a sannyasi to really start believing it. It's a service. It's a very important service. It's a service we should take, or someone's a temple president, or someone's a GBC. They can actually start to believe it, that that's who I am. I really am that. instead of thinking that it's just a service I do to serve other souls, to humbly serve other souls, someone can really think that I'm above you. I'm actually higher than you. I'm more important than you are. And the hypocrisy is obvious. So, it's something for me, it's something for everyone. If a man thinks he's better than a woman, he's obviously a fool. So, that's how you become qualified to be a spiritual leader, is that you don't think you're better than other people. That's why that's the first qualification to be a spiritual leader. You don't think you're better than other people. You don't envy other people. You're not trying to lord it over other people. You're just trying to help. For example, I gave that example. Parents love their children. They don't think they're more important. They think their children are more important. So that's, a spiritual society in which the leaders, whether it's a guru, a sannyasi, a GBC, a temple president, head bottle washer, whoever it may be, if someone has a position in a spiritual society and they identify with the hierarchy, Krishna says that in the mode of goodness, you see the differences, but that's not what really impresses you. That's not where you're emotionally engaged. Where you're really engaged, in terms of consciousness, is the equality. We honor the hierarchy. Okay, it's my job to accept a flower garland. Thank you very much. But it doesn't mean I think that I'm actually better than the person that made a garland for me. I'm not. We're all souls. And actually, the way Krishna explains it in Bhagavad-gita is that, we have past lives. And Krishna says, Purva-dehika jnanam, Krishna talks about. That knowledge, Krishna consciousness from our past life. And so maybe in a past life someone has been, serving Krishna longer. But this is the way I see it. For example, if I'm trying my best and someone else who doesn't have a big position in ISKCON is trying their best, then that person is equal to me. It doesn't matter because what Krishna values is your effort. Or there may be a devotee that has no position in ISKCON, but at a given moment they may be trying harder than I am. In that sense, they're pleasing Krishna more than I am, despite all my titles. Prabhupada actually taught me that lesson. I told the story the other day. I was in Lithuania. I mean, that's not when this happened. Prabhupada never went to Lithuania. But I told the story in Lithuania about what happened with Prabhupada. I was in New York with Prabhupada, and I'd been preaching at the colleges, and Prabhupada really liked our program. He would talk about it, actually, in his travels. He would talk about our program with Satsrupa preaching in the universities in America. So I went to see Prabhupada, and he was really jovial. Prabhupada always joked with me, but I was so grave and serious. Oh my God, it's Prabhupada. I couldn't really get into the jokes. It's like Prabhupada was trying to draw me in a more intimate relationship, but I was so reverential at that point. So when I walked into Prabhupada's room, he was sitting there. He just finished breakfast, and he was very jovial. And he said to me, sort of with this mock, I don't know, this dramatic tone, he said, "Oh, Hridayananda Goswami, you are traveling and preaching. I am simply sitting here and eating." Anyway, so then we started talking. Prabhupada started about my program, and he really liked it. And I was, of course, ecstatic. Prabhupada really appreciates me, so I went back later that afternoon to get more attention from my spiritual master. And so when I went back that afternoon, there was a young girl, I guess about, 18, 19 years old, 20 years old. And she was cleaning Prabhupada's room. And she was cleaning Prabhupada's room with devotion. So I sat there waiting for Prabhupada to appreciate me more. And of course it didn't happen, he ignored me. But Prabhupada instead was giving all of his attention to that young girl. Because at that moment I was sort of proud, and that girl was actually Krishna conscious. And so superficially, I was a sannyasi and whatever, and she was, I don't even know if she was initiated, just some young girl. And Prabhupada, he was so pleased with her. He was so pleased with her. He was like beaming, he was smiling, just like a loving father, grandfather. And he said to her, so what is your name and how old are you? And you could just see, he spoke to her with so much love and appreciation. And I never forgot that. That at that moment, that girl was pleasing Prabhupada much more than me. I had the title, I had the position, but she had the devotion. So, what we need is that, we can't, because, those are the dangers. And of course, to be spiritual doesn't mean to destroy hierarchies, because there are natural, necessary hierarchies. But it is the oneness. It is the oneness that is the prominent feature. As soon as the hierarchy becomes more important, guru, GBC, sannyasi, as soon as that becomes more important than the oneness, then basically we're on the material platform. So, of course, people naturally respect someone who's advanced in Krishna consciousness, but the person is advanced precisely because that person doesn't think that he or she is better. In fact, the definition of, Prabhupada's, what he always says about Paramahansa, our highest stage of spiritual realization, a Paramahansa sees that everyone but me is engaged in Krishna service. That actually, these people are better than me. So again, we may not all be Paramahansas, but it's a gradual line. It's a line. So the more we advance in Krishna consciousness, the more we advance, the more we see other people as important. And it doesn't matter, what gender they are. If I'm thinking, oh, you're a woman, you're not important, then that means I'm just a fool in the bodily concept of life. And Krishna actually says in the Bhagavad-gita that, he says it again and again and again, that your duty is born of your nature. Subhava-jena konteya nibatat swena karmana. And Krishna says in 3:13, that's in chapter 18, again and again and again, when Krishna describes the Varna system, he keeps describing it as born of your nature. And then in 3:13 he says, Sadrasham cheshtate swasya prakrite jnanavanapi. Even a jnanavan, even an enlightened soul, will act according to their nature. Prakritim janti bhutani, creatures follow their nature. Nigraha king karishati, what will repression do? So to deny a man or a woman service born of their nature is to become an obstacle to their spiritual life. Because as we know, we cannot control our senses, we cannot be Krishna conscious unless we engage our nature. Krishna says, it is dangerous not to serve according to your nature. So if I force someone to do another's duty, I'm forcing them into spiritual danger in the name of, protecting Varnashram. If a woman has particular abilities and I deny her the opportunity to serve Krishna according to her real abilities, I am forcing her into a dangerous situation. Rather than protecting the woman, I'm actually endangering the woman in the name of protection. It's like that funny movie, Invaders from Mars, where the Martians, are chasing the humans and shooting them and saying, no, we come in peace. It's like, so in the name of protecting women, one can actually ruin the spiritual life of a woman by not allowing her to serve Krishna according to her real abilities and her real nature. This is not, I'm not advocating some wild Amazon army of, Vaishnavis or something. It's like these wild, irrational fears that somehow this evil will be unleashed on the world. So again, you cannot protect a man or a woman. And the same thing for men. Prabhupada didn't come to create a society of Shudras, where one big leader thinks, whether it's a guru, I'm a guru, I'll give you my card later if you're interested, and we have very reasonable rates. Anyway, whether someone is a guru or a GBC or whatever, a sannyasi, whatever they may be, the attitude that, I mean, you know, 30 years ago, there was one sort of notorious big leader in ISKCON, sannyasi, guru, GBC, who's no longer a sannyasi or a guru or a GBC, who used to preach in Europe, not this country, some other part of Europe, that you don't have to think. You don't have to think. I'm thinking for you. I had a temple president tell me that in the United States. I gave a class which is only like mildly intellectual. And this temple president actually told me in front of Prabhupada's Vyasasana, I don't want the devotees here thinking. I just want them to work. That's his conception of a Brahminical society. So, I'm not attacking any individual. I'm just saying, whatever position, whether you are a husband, or whether you are a mother, or a guru, or a sannyasi, or a GBC, or temple president, no one should use their authority to lord it over other people. As we know, even in the material world, you know, they have the idea of the servant. The head of the corporation is actually serving everyone else in the corporation. So, if we are really Krishna conscious and we're not becoming infatuated with our titles or our gender infatuation, then we want to serve everyone. We want to serve everyone. We actually see, and the more we advance, the more we see ourselves as a servant of everyone. So that's the atmosphere, that's the spiritual atmosphere we should have in our society. And actually, I was very fortunate because I caught sort of like the last days or months when ISKCON actually was like that. Before, I mean, I joined in 1969. I joined a temple in Berkeley. There were maybe about 18 devotees in the temple, half men, half women. And like the men and women, we were really like brothers and sisters. There was real affection, there was friendship, no one fell down. And it was very beautiful. And Prabhupada, actually, just last thing I'll say, then it's getting late, but for me, there was a golden age in ISKCON, at least in my own mind. And it was actually, I caught the last end of it, maybe 67 to 69. Prabhupada lived in America. He traveled, but he had no intention of going back to India, actually at that time. He had no intention. And it was really a Western movement. I'm not saying Prabhupada, obviously Krishna took Prabhupada to India with spectacular results, but the point is, he was really focused on the Western world. And then Krishna took him to India, and the results are, you know, they're amazing, what Prabhupada did there and what's still going. India is obviously in its own category, and amazing things are happening there. But still, I like to remember Prabhupada when he lived in America, focused in America, considered his movement an American movement, and in his own pranam mantra, which he wrote, Prabhupada describes himself as the savior of the Western countries. Sometimes people say, why do you say Krishna West? Why don't you say Krishna North? Why don't you say Krishna South? I mean, obviously, extremely intelligent people ask questions like that. As if there is a northern culture. Yeah, the world's now being dominated by northern culture. What does that even mean? There's no such thing as northern culture. There's no such thing as southern culture. There is eastern culture, actually. We can talk about that in various ways. But Prabhupada in his own pranam mantra said, Paschatya Deshatarine, the savior of the Western countries. And of course, after he wrote that, India became, you know, just an amazing success for the Hare Krishna movement. But the point is, there was a time when Prabhupada actually lived there. He knew all the devotees in the Western world practically by name. And if you look, I mean, I recommend Mukunda Goswami's book. It's an amazing, you know that book. It's an amazing book Mukunda Goswami wrote. It inspired me very much. Because you see even Prabhupada's relationship with the devotees back then, when he actually knew them personally. And he actually took the role of the spiritual master, and as far as the details of how to spread the movement and all that, he trusted his intelligent Western disciples to figure it out. Figure out how to save your country. And so, anyway, there's no time to go through the whole history of ISKCON. What happened? The sociology of ISKCON radically changed. Relationship between devotees changed. Relationships between men and women changed. Relationships between devotees and non-devotees totally changed, and frankly, not for the better. That's a whole story. And now, of course, ISKCON, in that sense, has matured greatly, and there is real concern about relationships and so on. But we still have some lingering customs. So that's the kind of movement that will attract everyone. A movement where there's real loving relationship among devotees. Hierarchy is there, but it is subordinate to the oneness that comes out of love. It's like in a family. There's a family get-together, family dinner or something. You know, one brother is wealthy, another brother is, still hasn't got a real job. But when the family meets, it's all family. And so that the oneness that comes out of real affection and appreciation, that is what has to characterize ISKCON, not hierarchy. The hierarchy is there, but it's only there to serve the loving relationships. It's like, I'm in the sannyas order of life, which basically entitles me to free lunches everywhere I go. So, because, yeah, I just did the math and I realized this is a great deal. So, we can all be here together. We're all here together, men and women. We're completely safe. We're completely happy together. Why? Because we have culture. We all know that how a sannyasi should behave, how a grihastha should behave, how a lady should behave. We have culture. And it's the culture, this culture of chastity, it's not meant to separate us. It makes it safe for us to have loving relationships. And if one thinks that all this varnashram stuff is really meant to keep us apart, they've completely misunderstood Vedic culture. The whole purpose of having rules is to make it safe for people to love each other, to have real friendship, men and women, to be like a spiritual family. That's the whole point of it. And the purpose of leadership is to try to encourage and inspire other people to become leaders. A leader who's looking for followers is not a leader. A real leader is looking for leaders. A real leader is looking for leaders. If I, as a guru, if I become attached to having disciples, it's so much fun to have people subordinate to me. Then that's nonsense. Loving parents, their only purpose is to see, Prabhupada said this, is to see their children grow up to be healthy and strong and autonomous. The greatest happiness for a parent is to see my child can take care of himself or herself. And Prabhupada said, I read a letter he wrote, that in this world no one wants to be defeated, but parents are very happy when their children do better than them. So if I'm a leader in ISKCON at any level, guru, sannyasi, GBC, temple president, in my relationship with other people, so-called subordinates, my only wish is to build them up. Not that I want to keep them under me just to gratify my own nonsensical desires. My happiness is to see the people I'm responsible for doing better than me, becoming autonomous, becoming leaders themselves. There's no other justifiable reason for one soul to be over another soul. There is no other good reason except to help that person become great, to help that person become independent, to become free, and to become Krishna conscious. So we can tell the sign of a good leader is that a good leader produces more leaders. That's a sign of